Chris, did it go on your watch yet?
Not yet.
Should be now.
Should be now.
Yep.
Perfect. Brady, you might need to change the title. I'm not sure. Because I did not do that. But y'all, tonight we are going to find ourselves in Acts chapter 24. We have made it through 23 strong chapters in the book of Acts. Just to kind of give y'all what I think a schedule can kind of look like. We'll do chapter 24 tonight. Next week, this is ambitious, but I think we're going to do chapters 25 and 26. It's going to be 60 really good verses, but they play together really well. They kind of go hand in hand. So we're going to try and knock out both of those next week.
So we still in Law and Order Jerusalem?
We still are, yes. Chapter 27 starts with Paul sails to Rome, which is not a great trip for him, but we'll get there in a few weeks. And this is also just kind of housekeeping stuff as well. Next, starting in February, we're going to start a new Bible study. It'll be on Wednesday night starting at 6:30. We're going to do 1st and 2nd Timothy and Titus. And so I'd love for you guys to be a part of those. It'll be a 12-week study through those 3 books.
So no more on Tuesday?
We will be done on Tuesdays once we finish Acts. I'm kind of changing up my teaching schedule a little bit once baby girl gets here.
Imagine it's coming.
Yeah. And so I think that's all my housekeeping notes.
Yeah.
Brady, do I have anything else? Do you have anything else? Okay. So who remembers what happened at the end of chapter 23?
Is that whenever he found out about there was a plot to kill him?
He found out there's a plot to kill him.
Somebody he knew or a cousin?
His nephew. Yeah, his sister's son. It's like, hey, Uncle Paul, which I have an Uncle Paul, which is pretty cool. But Uncle Paul, that's actually who my middle name is after, is my Uncle Paul. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. So nephew goes, hey, Uncle Paul, these people they got a plot to kill you. They're gonna try and just go ahead and axe you here. And so he says, go and tell anybody important that will listen. And he does, and the governor who he speaks to listens, and he ends up in the hands of a guy named Felix. Felix is a governor, and this is after he has seen high councils, high priests. He's seen a whole lot of people, and as we've talked about, he's thrown in a lot of cards here. I am a Jewish person. I am a Roman citizen. All of these things. I haven't broken the law. And all of these things, people are like, oh, yeah, that's right. I guess we can't do anything about this. And so now he has been told to wait in the hands of Felix for somebody for him to have enough people to hold council. Now we're going to get to this point where we can have this discussion. So if somebody would, let's open up in chapter 24, verses 1 through 8.
Okay.
Thanks, Brett.
5 days later, Ananias, the high priest, arrived with some of the Jewish leaders and the lawyer Tertullus to press charges against Paul. And when Paul was called in, Tertullus laid charges against Paul in the following address to the governor. Your Excellency, you have given peace to us Jews and have enacted reforms for us. And for all of this, we are very grateful to you. But lest I bore you, kindly give me your attention for only a moment as I briefly outline our case against this man. For we have found him to be a troublemaker. A man who is constantly inciting the Jews throughout the world to riots and rebellions against the Roman government. He's a ringleader of the sect known as the Nazarenes. Moreover, he was trying to defile the temple when we arrested him. You can find out the truth of our accusations by examining him yourself. Then the other Jews chimed in, declaring that everything Tertullus said was true.
Perfect. Thank you. So, when was the last time that Paul saw Ananias?
5 days ago? Give or take.
Yeah.
Give or take 5 days ago.
6 or 6.
What happened the last time he saw Ananias?
This is when he didn't realize he was the high priest and he insulted him, right?
Right. Yeah, Ananias has him smacked. And he
What?
isn't happy about it. And so
Smack around.
He-
Roman?
he calls out some pretty heavy accusations against him. And they say, are you going to talk to the high priest like this? So he and Paul don't like each other, obviously. And they come in, I like that your translation says the lawyer. Mine says, and a spokesman, one Tertullus. But he comes in as the prosecutor and he lays down these claims against Paul. What are the accusations that he makes?
He's a troublemaker.
Troublemaker,
Ryan.
stirs up some riots.
That's a great leader in the cult.
And he's the ringleader of the Nazarenes.
No, how dare him.
The Jets and the Sharks are in the next room.
That's right.
So,
Just waiting their turn after the
Right.
Nazarenes.
I said he's a plague.
He's a plague. Oh, I like that. So he is a troublemaker, stirs up those riots. He's tried to profane the temple, but don't worry, we seized him. We stopped him from doing that. Is there any accuracy in what's being said?
So there were riots and rebellions, but Paul didn't start any of them.
Right.
You know, it was because those other people were trying to get rid of him.
Those dang Ephesians.
That's right.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
may have, he didn't defile the temple. Or not. What was he doing?
the dog fights, right? Did they take an idol or something out of the temple or something?
I think it was Ephesus, said that they had the comet that fell and that was their god. And so they were saying that Artemis, thank you, that he was defiling Artemis by preaching his forward sermon. So you can tell that a lot of this is almost the truth. He started a lot of riots.
A bit of a stretch.
A bit of a stretch. He's a riot starter. Well, he was there and the riot started because of him.
Yeah.
People got so angry they picked up dirt and threw it in the air.
But he didn't initiate.
He didn't initiate it though. And he even tried to profane the temple. He tried to come and make a mockery of the temple, which of course I think the last time he went to the temple was when he went to cleanse himself and follow the Jewish law almost to the letter. Yeah. And so that's another stretch. But by examining him yourself, you'll be able to find out from him about everything of which we accuse him. And so the Jews are standing behind them, affirming all these things. They're rattling in the background. Yes, he did this.
Great impression.
Thank you. That's probably what it sounded like, but in Hebrew.
Spot on. Spot on. I agree.
They were
Every
speaking
Jew I
Greek.
met sounded just like.
Well, it's got all in the hair,
Hey,
Fred.
all the-
Getting chopped off tomorrow.
Oh, no.
No,
I bet Cheryl's excited.
I'm excited. But anyways, so now Paul's going to have his chance to speak. Somebody would read for us verse 10 through 21.
The governor then motioned for Paul to speak. Paul said, I know, sir, that you have been a judge of Jewish affairs for many years, so I gladly present my defense before you. You can quickly discover that I arrived in Jerusalem no more than 12 days ago to worship at the temple. My accusers never found me arguing with anyone at the temple, nor stirring up a riot in any synagogue or on the streets of the city. These men cannot prove the things they accuse me of doing. But I admit that I follow the way, which they call a cult. I worship the God of our ancestors, and I firmly believe the Jewish law and everything written in the prophets. I have the same hope in God that these men have, that he will raise both the righteous and the unrighteous. Because of this, I'll always try to maintain a clear conscience before God and all people. After several years away, I returned to Jerusalem with money to aid my people and to offer sacrifices to God. My accusers saw me in the temple as I was completing a purification ceremony. There was no crowd around me and no rioting, but some Jews from the province of Asia were there, and they ought to be here to bring charges if they have anything against me. Ask these men here what crime the Jewish High Council found me guilty of, except for the one time I shouted, "I am on trial for you before you today because I believe in the resurrection of the dead."
Thank you. So Paul gets to make his defense. The second half of verse 10. Knowing that for many years you have been a judge over this nation, so I know who you are. We're on good terms. I cheerfully make my defense. How can Paul be so cheerful in this moment?
I mean, well,
Because he's already been told he's going to
as I say, that God's already promised him, he's good.
Yeah,
Confident,
he's confident.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the mindset.
that smile.
Gives me confidence.
Yeah. That smirk, you can see it, right?
Smirk.
Yeah, he's heard from God. You are not going to die here. And so he can make this cheerful, humble, but cheerful defense for himself. Knowing what we know about who Jesus is and what Jesus promises us, what would it look like for us to live cheerfully like Paul, confident like Paul? If we truly lived with this knowledge of what Jesus says, because we know it and he wrote it down for us, he says it to us, what would it look like for us to truly live with this much confidence? Because I think we've lost it somewhere, that confidence in the gospel that we are promised. What would change?
Like our worry would go away.
Yeah,
What was that?
A lot of our worry would go
Oh,
away.
yeah.
Wouldn't be, wouldn't have to worry about it.
yeah, we'd know. I think it's pretty humbling to see Paul be able to stand up for himself in this moment because he's so sure in who God is and what God told him. It almost serves as a challenge for us to be able to stand with this much confidence, knowing that our God has made these same promises to us. I'm going to work all things for the good for those who believe in me.
Well, and he's accepting that God is in control. I mean, it's like opposite of what Jonah did.
Yeah.
You know, running away and trying to fight it, but Paul's just going with the flow, and this is it.
Yeah.
I think it's also interesting how he knows he didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
And I think that's something that we can all be confident in our faith and be confident that God's got a plan for us, I mean, that's what our church is founded upon, is Jeremiah 29:11, and so, but he's like, I didn't do anything wrong. It's like going to like a court case knowing you've already like you've got all the facts to prove.
Mhm.
Like,
I'm innocent.
clean.
Yeah.
Like, it's like getting like pulled over, because I haven't like pulled over for no reason. And I was like, nothing. And of course it was like a tail light or like the license plate light was out. And like, of course I'm going to get, give me a ticket for that. But it's just like, I knew, I was like, I did not do anything wrong. I'm good. And then like there were that versus times that have sped a little bit and you got to take it for that. It's like, oh gosh, I know I did something wrong. But like I didn't do anything wrong. And God's already promised that I'm going to be good after this. So
Yeah.
just bring your best, here's the facts.
Yeah.
Does he also, though, in a way, have confidence in the people around him? I mean, how could he not think, well, they're really not gonna, I mean, how could he probably doesn't think this, but he knows that they can't do anything to him, but
right,
You have to have confidence that those people know they shouldn't do anything to them,
right. Yeah, that
you know,
it's kind of on their conscience, right?
yeah, it's on them.
Yeah, because just
But
like
in a
Brady was
way,
just saying,
they
he knows he
define-
didn't do it wrong.
Yeah, and they would be defying really the word of God, or the promise of God.
Yeah,
And
Well, and does he know that Felix is a fair man, maybe? I mean, track
That's what-
record?
he may,
He may,
knowing
yeah,
knowing that
he
for many
knows-
years.
He knows all about Felix, and Felix is a real bad person that Jews hate,
Oh, okay.
so.
So
in the
not
next-
fair, I guess.
Yeah, in the next, thing we'll read here, there's some things about Felix that he knows that, but you know, the Romans have they put themselves in a bind, and Paul put them in a worse bind, because the Romans want a strictly political situation, and they don't want anything to do with the Jewish religion.
Yeah,
And now Felix is trying to sidestep both issues.
both sides, yeah.
Because he doesn't want to, in fact, he'd like to turn it over to somebody else.
right. Yeah, let me wash my hands of this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, wasn't he originally hoping nobody showed up?
kinda.
Kind of.
Yeah, don't want to worry about it. They don't come, we don't have to do anything,
Right, that's
right?
kind of what he wanted.
Yeah. And so knowing the accusations against Paul, we found this man a plague, stirs up riots, ringleader, he's even trying to profane the temple. How does Paul defend himself against these?
Good, you said he was there to
Didn't do any of it here.
Yeah. Yeah, I was there to cleanse myself. I was there to go worship.
Said that he wasn't there that long.
Right. Yeah, I've been here for 12 days.
Yeah.
How much trouble can one person get in 12 days? Apparently a lot if you're Paul, but
And why aren't those other people coming here to accuse me?
yeah,
Is it because they can't prove anything?
right.
Right? He's like, I didn't do anything, and they can't prove it. So, what are we doing here? You know?
Yeah,
That's what I was gonna say is it's like when my kids are like, when I'm like, I know you're cheating, and they're like, prove it. You can't prove it. And I'm like, I can't. I just know you are, because
Yeah.
so
Good point.
does that happen a lot
more often than not in math.
I
in
was gonna say,
math?
math
Oh, yeah.
seems to be the one subject that's like the easiest to cheat on.
They have photo math.
Oh, yeah, with like Google now, you can do
Like
math.
they literally can take a picture of like a problem and it'll do all the work for them and give them the answer.
Wow.
Oh, my God.
Where was that when I was terrible at
I
math?
was gonna say, these kids are living in a
Same.
period.
Yeah, dang. But you can appreciate Paul's response here,
Yeah.
right? Saying, I haven't done anything wrong, but I confess this to you,
Yeah.
that according to the way, that which they call a sect, I worship the God of our fathers. So he's saying, I am following this thing that they don't really know anything about, but it's not what they think that it is. I'm not, and they don't know that Jesus came to serve rather than to be served. They don't know that he is the Prince of Peace rather than the Prince of Riot. And so he's honest. I confess to you, I follow the way.
You'll notice they call Christ everything but Christ.
Yeah,
Both sides stay away from him because Paul doesn't want to stir them up. And the other side don't want to admit it.
right. Yeah. And he even says, and okay, I have one wrongdoing. Let me defend myself, doing everything right. But there's one thing I've done wrong. I believe in the resurrection of the body. And so the Sadducees in the room are rattling even louder, but the Pharisees are like, hey, you got a point there.
Yeah.
And so we're going to see now Felix's response. So if somebody would read for us verses 22 through, oh wow, we're almost done. This is quick. 22 through the end of the chapter.
I will.
Thanks, Brady.
But Felix, having a rather accurate knowledge of the way, put them off, saying, when Lysias the tribune comes down, I will decide your case. Then he gave orders to the centurion that he should be kept in custody, but have some liberty, and that none of his friends should be prevented from attending to his needs. After some days, Felix came with his wife Drusilla, who was Jewish, and he sent for Paul and heard him speak about faith in Christ Jesus. And as he reasoned about righteousness and self-control and the coming judgment, Felix was alarmed and said, "Go away for the present. When I get an opportunity, I will summon you." At the same time, he hoped that money would be given him by Paul, so he sent for him often and conversed with him. When 2 years had elapsed, Felix was succeeded by Porcius Festus, and desiring to do the Jews a favor, Felix left Paul in prison.
Awesome. Thank you.
Well, he was in protective custody, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got to lean on his Roman citizenship. Yeah, Felix doesn't seem like a great guy here.
Well,
He was hoping to be bribed.
Yeah. Maybe if I keep him here for long enough, he'll just give me some money and I'll let him go.
we're talking about it, now the reason about righteousness and self-control. Now, Paul knows that Felix is on his third wife.
Hmm.
And all three of them have been a royalty, but Felix is not a royalty. In fact, Drusilla is less than 20 years old.
Hmm.
She's also the granddaughter of Agrippa I, Herod Agrippa I, and the daughter of Herod Agrippa II, who is a proselyte Jew.
Hmm.
And his sister Bernice. So Paul knows all this, and Felix, if you look at this, it's just gone, he just wants him out of there.
Unless he can get some money.
Unless he can get some money
Well,
and
yeah, well,
to
he
stay in good
wants- that's all
standing with the
reason he kept-
Jews.
He wants a bribe.
He wants a bribe.
Sure.
Yeah.
But it does nothing to him. It doesn't help or hurt for him to keep Paul in custody.
And he's not being mean to him, he's just,
Yeah, just going to have conversations with him. 2 years, daily chats. Hopefully they had a cup of coffee, right, Luke?
You wonder what they're jail, he's allowed to walk around town with the guard.
Right.
He's got a house to live in.
Yeah. Just imagine the earful that guard got. Those guards, the ones who had to stay with him. Just
Don't you know how many people he converted?
how many?
I don't know, I said, but don't you know how
Yeah, so many.
Guard after guard that he talked
I was
to
gonna say,
constable.
Yeah. Just one after the other.
Great.
Felix, I can't do this anymore. I believe him. Okay, let's get the next guy.
It's like throw me in the briar patch, and that was what he.
Yeah.
He can handle that. Wonder what Portia was a Jewish lady, right? Was she Jewish?
Portia.
Was she Jewish?
Drusilla?
I mean, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Drusilla,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Drusilla.
Well, and like my Bible has a note that,
I wonder what influence that might have had too,
yeah,
with the.
Yeah.
Kind of the calmer, activities that he was, they had to deal with it.
Yeah, that's a good question.
And he didn't have to put up with, Felix would have to put up with her, and she's 20 years old, you don't want.
Yeah.
Have to deal with her, and say,
He's tired.
Yeah, I mean,
wore out.
so my Bible has a note that apparently their marriage was a scandal because Felix deceptively precipitated her divorce from her first husband. So their marriage was already kind of not in a great, it didn't start off with and this was his third wife apparently, so
Yeah.
clearly there's just
There's
a
something
lot of
there.
stuff going on with this guy Felix.
I have a study note also that says Roman law prohibited officials from taking bribes, but Josephus reports that bribe taking was rampant. Money talks, right?
Oh, yeah. We have any of that.
Nothing has changed.
None.
But yeah, but it's also, I mean, but it's interesting, it's like 2 years, like, I was like, like God said, like, you're good, and then it's like, and then 2 years later,
Yeah.
the guy has left, and Paul is, still in prison, and it's like, oh, I thought, his story, that he was able to just go to Rome. Oh, hey, you're gonna go to Rome in like a couple days.
Right.
Yeah, 2 years is still going by, and
All writing at this time,
I would imagine.
I would imagine.
yeah.
I didn't see that, but we wrote a lot from Rome. I didn't know if it was during this period or not.
And he wrote a lot from prison too.
Prison, yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I meant from prison.
Yeah.
it's like, but which prison? He's been in prison a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So it's like, this one or the other one?
Yeah, he seems to have a knack for being thrown in jail.
but see, he might have seen that as an opportunity,
For sure he did.
you know?
For sure. Which is another lesson for us, is how do we have the eyes to see that even in what would be deemed as a rough situation, how does the gospel shine through?
Mhm.
And so that is 2 years had elapsed before Porcius Festus was succeeded Felix. Desiring to do the Jews a favor, Felix left Paul in prison. So let's jump in a little bit to chapter 25 as well. So now that Felix is gone, we're going to see Paul's case kind of pick back up again.
His appeal.
His appeal. Yeah, exactly. So somebody would read for us now chapter 25, verses 1 through 12. Thanks, Krista.
3 days after arriving in the province, Festus went up from Caesarea to Jerusalem, where the chief priests and the Jewish leaders appeared before him and presented the charges against Paul. They requested Festus, as a favor to them, to have Paul transferred to Jerusalem, for they were preparing an ambush to kill him along the way. Festus answered, Paul is being held at Caesarea, and I myself am going there soon. Let some of your leaders come with me, and if the man has done anything wrong, they can press charges against him there. After spending 8 or 10 days with them, Festus went down to Caesarea. The next day he convened the court and ordered that Paul be brought before him. When Paul came in, the Jews who had come down from Jerusalem stood around him. They brought many serious charges against him, but they could not prove them. Then Paul made his defense. I have done nothing wrong against the Jewish law or against the temple or against Caesar. Festus, wishing to do the Jews a favor, said to Paul, Are you willing to go up to Jerusalem and stand trial before me there on these charges? Paul answered, I am now standing before Caesar's court where I ought to be tried. I have not done any wrong to the Jews, as you yourself know very well. If, however, I am guilty of doing anything deserving death, I do not refuse to die. But if the charges brought against me by these Jews are not true, no one has the right to hand me over to them. I appeal to Caesar. After Festus had conferred with his council, he declared, You have appealed to Caesar you will go.
Awesome. Thank you. So there's a new sheriff in town. Thank you. The words were escaping me. So new guys running the block here. And he is going to go and he's going to see Paul. Before that happens, what takes place? What happens before he's going to go see Paul?
It's a little one-on-one time with the Jewish leaders.
Gets a little one-on-one time with the Jewish leaders. And what do they say?
The same old stuff.
Yeah. It is funny that they keep coming back to this great idea. It's like they're all talking, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? They have a light bulb. Let's just run a plan and we'll kill him.
We'll kill him.
It's easy.
That was their plan, yeah.
And it doesn't work once. It's not gonna work again because it's really not a very good plan.
We can't prove it, so let's kill him.
Right. Let's just get rid of him. This solves all of our problems. So they tell Festus, hey, do us a favor. Summon him to Jerusalem. Just bring him here from Caesarea. Because they know, oh, when he's on the road, we'll kill him. And Festus says, oh, funny, I'm actually going to see him in Caesarea. Why don't y'all come with me? Just imagine that like stomach dropping moment that they just had.
How we were thinking.
They know that in front of this Roman governor, they're not going to be able to just up and kill somebody without facing the repercussions of their own. And so Festus unknowingly foils their plan.
I'm wondering what's Festus' motivation for not turning him over to the Jews, because that would solve Festus' problem.
Well, what was Festus's problem?
Well, what to do with him?
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be interesting that he could turn him over to the Jews, problem solved. He could just let him go.
Yeah.
And probably the same result would happen anyways.
Yeah.
But maybe it's the fact that Paul's a Roman citizen. Maybe it's who knows what it is.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Why he doesn't just take care of the
Probably
problem.
God.
Probably is God. That there's something weighing on him.
Yeah.
That as one of my mentors likes to say, there's a catch in his spirit.
Do we know for sure that Festus didn't know that that was the plan?
I don't believe so.
Because like what I'm thinking is I relate this back to like things we do at school. Well, we've heard like, rumors that there's going to be fights in these places or, XYZ is going to happen. So we kind of know that's happening. So we try to foil the plan by being there as a teacher. So I wonder if like maybe Festus overheard it or one of his trusted people heard it and then decided he didn't want Paul to die because he still wanted to have this favor with the Jews.
Yeah.
So he kept him alive and foiled their plan.
Yeah, maybe so. I had never thought of it like that, but it really could be that way. That
In my Bible, in verse 11, it says, if I'm innocent, neither you nor anyone else has the right to turn me over to these men to kill me. He actually says it to Festus.
Yeah.
So maybe
they weren't too.
maybe nobody else had to tell him because Paul told him.
Yeah.
These guys want to kill me.
Yeah, don't send me over to
Don't
Jerusalem.
send me
They
there.
want to kill me.
That's all they're going to do is kill me.
Yeah.
Again, he's pulling his Roman citizen card and said, I have the authority to appeal my case to Caesar.
I appeal to
I
Caesar.
think that's to hold that card again.
Yeah.
It's
We only thought he was out of cards up his sleeve.
No, no,
that's right.
He's got them stacked.
Got an ace in the hole there.
A whole deck of them.
Got a whole deck of aces.
Well, it's a lifetime membership.
That's right.
Yeah.
True, yeah. I just keep flexing this Roman citizenship card as many times as I need to.
Yeah, whatever works. And so Festus goes to Caesarea, goes to talk to Paul. He goes and Paul says in his defense, neither against the law or the Jews, nor against the temple, nor against Caesar have I committed any offense. So all of these things they're accusing me of, haven't done anything wrong. Haven't broken the law, your law or the Jewish law. Haven't done anything against the temple. Caesar and I, we're cool. Don't worry about it. There's nothing that we've done wrong here, that I've done wrong here. But Festus, wishing to do the Jews a favor, I don't know why this is something that a trait that Felix passed on, but it does well for the governor of the Roman governor to be in good standing with the Jewish people so that there is not this civil unrest in their territory.
Right.
So he wants to stay on their good side. And he says, do you wish to go up to Jerusalem and there to be tried on these charges before me? And Paul again speaks with boldness. I am standing before Caesar's tribunal where I ought to be tried. To the Jews I have done no wrong, as you yourself know very well. If then I am a wrongdoer and have committed anything for which I deserve to die, I don't care. I'm not trying to get out of this. If I deserve to die, let me die. If I didn't deserve to die, then don't kill me. He's
Pretty simple.
very,
I'm wondering where Paul is at right now in his mind, because he's spiritually removed from Judaism.
right.
So he's still practicing as a facade, but he's not really practicing the sacrifice and everything else that
Well,
they do.
I think yes, and he's not practicing those things. He's not.
Well, that's what I'm saying, as a facade, he's just putting up a front doing it.
Well, I think kind of, because one, I don't know how much of that he has access to being in a Roman prison, but two, there's no doubt that he is continuing to worship God and follow the way, right? And when you get down to the core of it, there's so many similarities that maybe they couldn't tell the difference.
Right.
I don't know.
When out in the world, when he's in Jerusalem, then he's putting up that front.
Yeah, he's showing them.
But in his spirituality, he's not really, he's a Christian.
Yeah, fully.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. If Festus wants to do a favor for the Jews, why did Paul say, I'm a Jew, do a favor for me, let me out of here?
And he pulls his Jewish card then,
Right,
It's up the other sleeve.
yeah.
up the other sleeve.
As a jacket with his cards.
I was gonna say, like, you left that backpack later.
What about what?
What if I watch?
In hand and foot, you have 7 decks of cards, so I think that's.
Yeah.
And so Festus confers with his council and says, to Caesar you have appealed, to Caesar you shall go. So we're starting to get some movement in Paul's story here. It's time for him to go in front of Caesar. Why is this? What's the impact of that? Why does it
Goes to
matter?
Rome.
Goes to Rome,
Yeah, Rome.
He gets to Rome.
which he had
And he
said,
gets free travel.
I love that.
Free airfare.
Felix was trying to get him to give him money the whole time, and now he's going to Rome on
Gets a free
the
trip.
emperor's dime.
That's right.
Do we have any thoughts about chapter 24 and the first half of chapter 25?
I think it's just funny that the governor position is just a middleman. It's just, all right, I'm just gonna keep everybody happy or move it on to the next person.
Right. That's kind of been the story for the past, like, he comes up before the Jewish council, they say, well, let's send you the high priest. The high priest say, let's send you the Romans.
Does this remind you of anything like kicking the can down the road?
A little bit.
So how many more years is he away from Rome? 8?
I'm not sure how many years it's gonna take him.
From here to the end, I think he's still got 8 more years before he dies, right?
Oh, the 8 years in Rome?
I don't know how long he's in Rome before he dies.
Well, I don't know how long it took him to get to Rome. I'll have to look that up and
Yeah.
see.
I mean, he gets in
I
a,
know he stayed in a real prison in Rome. That's
right, and
Yeah.
he gets in the worst traffic accident ever, and so that delays him a little bit. The story's picking up here. We're making our way downtown at this point.
Rising up to the ladder, little by little. Eventually, there's top.
Yeah.
But
gotta
it is, I mean, it is just really interesting how, I mean, nobody wants to deal with him because nobody can make a case against him.
Right,
Like, they know, like, this guy isn't doing anything wrong. Like, we have no authority to convict him of anything.
yeah, what can we say against him
And
if
so it's
there's
like, I don't
nothing to
wanna deal
say?
with him because, I mean, I don't think, like, they may not be thinking, oh, look at like, the whole like Pontius Pilate thing, like, they killed like an innocent man. They're probably not thinking that far, but it's like they don't wanna have innocent blood on their hands.
Right,
They're just like, that's not good for business, that's not good to line the pockets,
yeah,
It makes me think that when Jesus, showed himself to him, and picked him to be a disciple,
mhm,
and how he knew this man is so tough or so capable of dealing with all the things that are gonna happen.
Yeah,
This is the man that can deal with it. That's what it makes me think of, because many things like this, you just give up. You just.
be a lot easier too.
When you're faced with death and you think about, well, I really didn't do this, or I really didn't want to do this, or
Yeah,
start making excuses. Paul doesn't make any excuses.
right. No,
He's not, so he's not fearful, and that, I think Christ knew that. And that's why he had to get him and get him in the right spot, because he knew his personality and his
yeah,
dedication to whatever he was doing was strong.
right. Yeah,
And that's what makes me think of.
that, I like that. I hadn't thought of that. Well, if we have no more thoughts here, Ron, I like that. I appreciate that. That's a
Yeah.
good insight of Paul had to be very well positioned, and Jesus
He knew that.
Jesus knows that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't think there's too many people who could have gone the treacherous journey that he went
No,
on.
no, and he knew that's what I
And,
could.
and have all like the, you know, like we keep joking about him having like all the cards to play, but like, that's probably wasn't by accident.
No.
That we have this high respected Jew who's also a Roman citizen, who is smarter than almost anybody in that day and age.
yeah,
Like clearly he's a great weapon to
I'm
have.
gonna use him.
right.
Yeah, it's like, we gotta get him on our side.
No,
So show him
And
the way.
Paul was well educated, you know, when first time before Lysias, he quoted two Greek poets,
mhm.
so he was well,
Yeah.
really well.
He was well read.
Yeah,
Well educated.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you know, smart, he's a smart guy.
Well,
He
he
was
spent a
smart.
lot of time in Greece debating them too.
Yeah, Mars Hill.
So
Yeah.
that showed his ability to deal with all kind, he's like not a lawyer, but like a debater.
yeah,
He can
Oh,
debate
very skilled.
anything.
Yeah.
and he knows when to turn it on and when
You
to
know,
not.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, see, that's.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, would somebody like to close us in a word of prayer?
I will.
Thanks, Brady.
Father God, we just thank you for another day, for another time to gather, for just the privilege it is just to dig into your word and dig into Paul's story as we just see just how resilient he is against all the threats that are coming against him. But seeing his faith and his resolve, just knowing that he's in your hands and that you've got a plan for him, is just something that we can all look at and just find peace in our life, that we have the same relationship with you that Paul has, and that you've got a plan for us. No matter what we're facing, no matter what things we might be worried about, that we can rest and find peace in your love. And so we just thank you so much for what you're doing, and just for this time again, just to gather together and to pray with each other and laugh and just get to dive deeper into relationship with you, God. We love you and pray in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Let's turn off the live stream here.